right, thanks guys for having me here. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tony. Carson over here is one of the co-founders of Cosmic.js. My name is Tony Spiro, co-founder of Cosmic.js, and yeah, happy to be here to present a little something that I guess it's more high level than kind of getting in the weeds with technical stuff, but it's just some interesting things that I've found in my career and my development process as a web and application developer that I thought I'd share with you guys. So, all right, so I'm going to take a deep breath. And it's not as nervous up here because this feels really intimate, so this is nice. But usually when I give a talk, I like to take a deep breath and get everybody to breathe in, breathe out, and just kind of absorb some stuff with everybody in the room. So, my talk is building modern apps with API services. Very kind of general, but good to kind of understand like where our industry is moving and kind of seeing some of these general trends and understanding really what's happening with technology in our space. So who am I? My name is Tony Spiro. It's pronounced like the dragon and not the former vice president. I'm a dad. She's going to be 2 next week. And I've played in bands. I actually got my degree in music from University of North Texas. And it was a kind of an easy transition into coding. For some reason, it just made sense to study music on a page and then study code and kind of translate it into something creative. So I always find that interesting when I find other musicians who are now coding. A few of them, yeah. Or you're probably still playing music, but also coding as well. So I've been on agency teams, built some really cool projects, very challenging stuff for Cadillac, Time Warner Cable, different clients at different agencies, big and small. Kind of seen a lot of stuff with like time constraints and client demands and all that stuff that kind of goes with the agency world. And I find that it's very different from kind of startup world and kind of bigger company world. It's really just kind of fast paced. And communication is key, and really kind of these things are very, very intertwined. A lot of these things kind of overlap with different companies, but for the most part, with agencies, you get these client demands for simple content management systems. And so when I was building websites back in the agency world, it was WordPress, PHP, MySQL, Drupal, these installed systems. Very much you're building everything except for a Linux server. You're really just kind of in the weeds with some of the infrastructure that now we're kind of seeing a shift into more of the service-oriented type of development process. So like most agencies, we just fell into the LAMP stack. If you've ever built a WordPress website, you know all the nuts and bolts that come with it. It's great to have a simple interface for managing content, but all of that stuff in the back end was just kind of a nightmare. So now I build websites and applications with modern JavaScript technology, mainly JavaScript, but obviously that comes with HTML, CSS, and whatnot. Some native as well, but for the most part, full stack JavaScript, and also leveraging like these modern services like GitHub for version control and collaboration. All right, so for application development, with agencies especially, if you've ever worked in kind of these environments where there's several stakeholders, you think that when you build a website, like a client thinks that when they need a project like an application or a website, they just need to get one of these guys and here's my requirements, see you later, it's going to be perfect and polished when they get it, right? So a month later, you have a handsome developer who's got this beautiful home that he's built for you. Now, here's your keys, go enjoy, right? And that's really not how it works, right? Like, there's just so many different things. Carson and I, we actually worked together at a digital agency in Uptown where we just had we just had to basically be in charge of communication between all the stakeholders. I was handling the technical team, he was handling kind of the client communication and project management. And so really when it boiled down to looking back at some of the best projects we were on, it was always a matter of the communication between all the stakeholders and making sure that the team knew what was going on and knew kind of how to manage evolving project scope and timelines. So when you have that kind of highly communicative team, you really get a great team to build your application. So really, it boils down to developers need to be on. I guess here it's really small teams. I think that's kind of the Jeff Bezos quote is the best teams are a 2-pizza team. The size of your team should be able to order 2 pizzas and have lunch, and that should be no more, no less the amount of food that they require. So that's kind of the different stakeholders communicating is really what creates good working conditions to create great products. So office stakeholders, technical, non-technical, when you have application development kind of in this rapid iteration loop, it really is, it's easier to make sure that all stakeholders have this input on what the application is eventually going to look at, right? So let's say your designer has the perfect design whipped up in Sketch. They send it over to the copywriter, and the copywriter has like 3 paragraphs of content instead of 2, and so that kind of makes it so the design is a little bit different and kind of blown out. So design has to redo what they're doing. Development needs to be involved to make sure that all the kind of development requirements are met within the design. And data and analytics need to be able to track all of this. End users need to be able to get the product in time to make the necessary changes. So all of these stakeholders, and this is pretty much what you want within a good small team, is to make sure that it satisfies the requirements of the product. And you need to get from design to end user as quick as possible. So my obvious take on this is that teams that allow more collaboration with cross-functional team members sooner create better products. Not necessarily a bold statement, but just kind of obvious in retrospect of some of the things that I built that went well and some things that didn't go well. It's putting a developer in a hole with a spec and then having them emerge is not the way to do it anymore, right? And who knows, it probably never was the way to do it, but there was no other way at the time to really collaborate fast enough. So waterfall is no good anymore, right? And everybody's familiar with waterfall, right? Just handing it from one part of your team, having them complete it, go to another, and really everybody just needs to kind of get in there at once to make sure that the product's built to everybody's requirements and satisfaction. So as a developer, what can you do? E40 would tell you it's about choices. So I'm totally biased, meaning that I prefer to buy over build. And I think these are important developer decisions, which is, what do you not have to build, right? What should you not build? And that's really where these API services come in, is that somebody's done it better. And we're all kind of, we're all in this boat of technology where we're standing on the shoulders of great developers, right? Tailwind, like leverage that tool to build something quickly. Bootstrap was awesome as a front-end framework, still used, it's very popular today. React, Ember, all this stuff is just totally, reusing code that's already been built. So and open source is great, but also factoring in like where can you save time and money on buying a solution. So obviously developer time is valuable from a monetary standpoint, but also think about it from the team's standpoint of when I'm done with something, I can get more feedback and then iterate faster. So how much is your time worth for developers? Median is about 6-figure for a salary, right? So developer time is also expensive. Not only is it good to leverage the best tools out there for time saving, but also for money savings, bottom line. All right, so general trends. If you guys ever used kind of the authorized.net framework, you know it is a nightmare. Yeah, so one of my first gigs as a developer was building up fundraising applications for like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and stuff, and made it possible to go on Facebook and like purchase some goods through applications directly through social media, and used authorized.net. It was a terrible experience, and also it didn't scale, you had to be PCI compliant, so you're like storing credit card information, so it was just bad. It was like a bad idea. So now with Stripe, like it's totally off of your books. You don't have to worry about storing credit card or user information. They can go straight into their system, and it's, if you haven't used it, it's the standard in really like API and design and all of that. They're just doing an awesome job as far as making this API service usable and enjoyable. Email libraries, if you ever used PHP, WordPress, they have, I guess I want to say it's a PHP, right? PHP mailer or postfix with, I think Linux has that system. But obviously, like, you want to make sure your email actually goes there, so it's best to use an API service that can make sure that you're not blocked by spam filters, or you have good reputation. So they'll make sure that, SendGrid is a great service that'll make sure that you'll stay compliant so that your emails are delivered. And you can also track them through a dashboard, much like with Stripe, where you can track your analytics and all that. You can also track it in SendGrid, which is awesome. So data and files, MySQL and PHP. Those are great for when you're building out WordPress websites or whatever. You're kind of managing everything, but really shouldn't have to do that anymore. And that's where Cosmic.js fits in, and I'll talk a little bit about that a little later. But basically, it makes it possible to manage your media, your content, and everything in this dashboard, and it gives you a really intuitive API that you can use to power content for your applications. So this is the new hotness, right? API services. So why manage infrastructure when you can just get the service for a nominal rate? API services are superheroes for developers. And the benefits are focusing on fun stuff. When you don't have to build out the non-core infrastructure, you get more time to collaborate with your team members, get feedback from users. A lot of big benefits from there for the small cost of the service. Save development time and money, allows for more collaboration. So yeah, basically it empowers your entire team to be faster when you leverage the right service for the job. Your product can get to the market faster, so your user is the most important member of your team. Talking with users, making sure that it satisfies their needs, delivers the value that they're looking for. That's the most important thing. So shipping to market faster, biggest benefit. So how does this work? Well, Cosmic, it's a headless CMS. If you've heard of this concept, headless CMS is basically allowing developers and content creators to collaborate with application development. So if you've had a WordPress installation before, you're managing MySQL and PHP and all that stuff, now it's replaced with a service, has the same friendly dashboard with an interface for your content creators with the same rules and permissions and all that good stuff. And then you have the API, which you can just inject into your Ember, React, Vue application. So eliminates non-core dev tasks and instant collaboration around content. Like I said about when you have a designer who builds out some marketing landing page or something with some copy, if you've got your developer already built out that marketing page and you have your content creator already in the dashboard adding the content, they find out that the design doesn't work, then you can send it back to the designer quickly and say, hey, the content creator in the staging environment, like, put the content in, it blasted out this area, we need to revamp the design to make it look better. So little things like that are huge on time savings. And you don't want to have to ask a developer to add and edit copy. I know from experience, it's not fun. Like, change this word and then push deploy. Like, so there's a lot of benefits there with Cosmic. So APIs, we offer REST and GraphQL. Who's familiar with GraphQL? Have you used it? Anybody used it before? So awesome stuff. Declarative data management for your application. So where REST gives you kind of like the fire hose of data, GraphQL is like, I just need a title, and it'll send it right back to you. It's really, really cool. So dashboard for content creators, API for developers. So with Cosmic, eliminate those two technologies. You don't have to mess with those, right? So with Stripe, you don't have to mess with payment gateway systems. You don't have to mess with Node Mailer or what's another package for emails? That's the one I've used before. Maybe not Passport, but Passport, you use Auth0, right? You don't have to have an entire login system if you want to just leverage their service. So if you want to play with Cosmic.js, you just npmi Cosmic.js, and immediately you have your CMS set up in your application. We also have a CLI, kind of maps to the REST API, so you can do all the stuff with the CLI that you can with the REST API. Really cool for just quickly installing like a starter application. You can just do like Cosmic init Gatsby starter or Node starter. Just download it, get started right away. It's pretty cool. All right, so demo time. I don't have like a lot of code stuff to go over, but I just want to go over this like case study really quick, just a collaboration between Cosmic and AMI publications. This was really cool because it tested the theory of API services as the first thought on the application. So when AMI came to us and said, hey, we want to build out this story licensing application, we wanted to be able to search stories, send emails, manage content. So perfect, we know exactly what to use. So the goal was to search and republish well-written and high-traffic blog posts on your site or corporate blog. I guess maybe AMI, it's kind of the main company. So if you're familiar with Hacker Noon, that's one of the AMI publications, and they're huge, fantastic publication. And so we've been working with them as far as backing up some of their Medium posts into Cosmic, and so we have like basically several buckets of information of all of their stories, and we've saved them about a year or so worth of content. And so when they needed to have this application built, they're like, okay, we want this built. How can we leverage your API that already has our content? And so we're like, we'll just pipe it into an API service and kind of build it that way. So we kind of already had like all of the content there. We just needed a way to create a great user experience. So the requirements were save email lead immediately, search stories, and send email for a bid. So you see, saving an email, okay, probably need to use some sort of database. So maybe we would have used like MySQL or MongoDB if we're going like straight infrastructure building, which would just be a huge time suck. Search stories, maybe we'll build out some sort of like caching layer or an API endpoint that would pull in the Cosmic.js data and then search through it as a proxy or something. Then you have like issues with like fuzzy search, and there's different search requirements that search is a big problem, right? So that would have been a big time suck as well. Sending email for a bid, do we want to create an email endpoint like Node Mailer or whatever to handle that on infrastructure, on built infrastructure, or should we just use a service? And the answer to all of those was no, let's use these services. All that stuff is already built really well, so we'll offload the content management and saving emails to Cosmic. We'll use Algolia for our super fast search, and they're awesome because they have, this was built in React, so they have like a React component, which is like React instant search, and you just add your API key like as a prop, and you just put it into your application and kind of works out of the box. So really just had to do a little bit of tweaking on that component to make it work. And then sending emails, SendGrid is fantastic. And the cost for a project like this, about $120 a month, 120. So really nominal monthly rate for like what would have been about a few hundred hours of development time spent. So you kind of think about like, what is your time worth? What is it worth to get the client happy with the project and see that there's movement on some of these like core requirements? So all of that was like an easy trade-off of, yeah, we'll just pay for the services and put it out there, get some feedback. And right now it's in beta. So if you go to storylicensing.com, you'll see this application that's built on Next.js, and it uses Algolia, SendGrid, and Cosmic.js, and the search is just lightning fast. Emails are sent reliably, content is easily managed, and really it was a very satisfying project just because it was just really quick to get through it and get something kicked out quickly. And so it was a success on the collaboration on both fronts, I think. So the closing points are teams that communicate the best, build the best apps, right? API services help you collaborate faster. You can spend more time doing the fun stuff, playing, I don't know, Mario Kart in a simulator or something. Whatever you want to do on your downtime. So I find it's just so much more rewarding to focus on user experience and getting that feedback and building applications that satisfy the goal. And so before even like starting the building process, just kind of looking at the landscape and seeing what's out there before building. I think that was the takeaway from that story licensing project. So, all right, so we're hiring. We love different applications. We have a few Ember applications. I think one of them is like a real estate app. But we'd love to get more into our community. We have, about 100 or so now of just demo applications.
Demo app.
Yeah, so if you guys want to check out the website, cosmicjs.com, check out our community section and look at the apps that we have available and see if there's any you think that we may be missing, and we we collaborate to get you guys to build it. You get paid. You write an article about how it was built and give a little bit back to our community. And our users love those because it really it shows that like we're proactive and like trying to push the envelope a little bit more on like developers building modern applications, but also trying to get them to educate each other and kind of go over some similar problems that other projects may have. So. Yeah, so contact me, Tony at cosmicjs.com, if you're interested in building some stuff for us, or if you have any questions. Love to hear from you. And thank you. Any questions?
What's the infrastructure for Cosmic.js?
Good question. I would love to say it's all API services. We're running Node.js, MongoDB on AWS Cloud.
Okay.
Yeah. We're definitely looking at serverless right now as like an option for just some of the stuff that we're looking at on our roadmap. So that's been an interest. I think a lot of we do developer spotlights and stuff, and we also have a serverless starter application.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a space that we're looking at, and we're really interested in kind of the Lambda functions.
Okay, and what provider are you looking at that for?
AWS.
AWS?
Yeah.
Have you thought about using any other cloud provider?
Yeah, Google Cloud, we've checked them out. Azure, kind of checked all of them out. And they're all good, you know. So it's kind of like which one do you want? I guess AWS was kind of the first one.
Yeah.
I've been on them for
That's
a long
been
time.
around for a
Yeah.
long time.
Anybody else? All right, thanks.